Hey guys, welcome to an interesting video on Wild Rift. So today we are back talking about a Rakan updated complete guide. Now I say updated complete guide because I've actually done a Rakan guide before like 2 years ago or so, but that one was completely scuffed. And actually I'm just gonna probably just put the title as complete guide. So I'm just gonna do it as if I was doing it for the first time, because that was like, I think, like the second video I made. The first video I made I think was on Draven, and the second one was on Rakan, I believe. So let's pretend that we never made that video before. You can still find it on the channel if you want to, but we're gonna pretend that we have basically just never made it before. So Rakan is basically my favorite support, and a support I pick very often when I'm autofilled, and he's sort of a mix between an engage support and an enchanter. Now he is an engage support with his W and with his ultimate. However, he is not a tank. Like majority, like 99% of engagers are all tanks, like Nautilus, Leona, Alistar, etc. But he is a squishy character who's also an enchanter, because he also has a heal on his Q and he also has a shield on his E. So he basically has two enchanter spells, two like engage spells, and he's just a really weird like combination of both. So the main reason why I like him is he has insane playmaking potential, and more so, in my opinion at least, than a lot of the other engagers. Like the reason why I say that is because you can win a fight solo by yourself, like with a 5-man ultimate into a 5-man knockup, for example, which I have done before, and I have won my team games even when we're like 10k goal behind just off of my engage. However, of course, Rakan being an engage support has all of the usual problems of course, if your team is like behind, it's really difficult for you to play, because whenever you engage, you pretty much will die, and pretty much it also just means that it's very hard for your team to do anything because they're very behind. And yeah, also Rakan is a little bit difficult to get picks compared to like Nautilus or Thresh, where they can hook one guy. Rakan has to throw his whole body at the enemy team. But one thing Rakan can do that a lot of other champions cannot, which is one of his main selling points in laning phase, is he has his E. So his E basically allows him to dash to a champion twice. And the reason why this is so powerful is because this allows Rakan to actually tank skill shots for his lane partner. So for example, if you have a Blitzcrank on the enemy team, you should always be standing in front of your lane partner, and you can tank the Blitzcrank hook, and then you can like tank the Blitzcrank knockup, and then you can jump back to your lane partner, and basically Blitzcrank has used his whole engage, but you can safely get out. So that's one of the main strengths of Rakan that a lot of people just really don't know about, and they really don't play Rakan in the right way, especially in the lane. But yeah, we're going to discuss about how we play Rakan later on in the gameplay, and also we're going to talk about his build a bit later on. But first up, of course, we're going to jump into the practice tool to talk about his skills and his leveling order. Now, on just a very quick side note, is that we're going to be building Rakan full AP, because I believe that's the best build for Rakan. I'm going to explain this a little bit later as to why I think it's the best build. But first things first, we're in the practice tool. The first thing we're going to do, of course, is in level 1, technically speaking, you do have a couple of ability options. Technically, every single ability option is really a viable option in level 1. So for example, as I mentioned, if there's a Blitzcrank on enemy team, you can always start E level 1, and you can always just dash to tank the hook and dash back to your ally. Nothing much the enemy can do after that. And you waste you waste Blitzcrank's Q cooldown. If you have a more aggressive lane, like you're with a Caitlyn or a Draven, you can take W level 1 to, of course, engage, like that. And then you can also just always take Q level 1 to just poke out a little bit and get some healing. And level 2 and level 3, it sort of just depends. Like your first 3 levels are really fluid. If you take W level 1, you're generally gonna take E level 2 and vice versa. If you take E level 1, you're generally gonna take W level 2, because you can always do a short combo like this, where you have an ally, you can easily just engage and then hop back to your ally, and you're completely safe. And yeah, that's basically just what you want to do. If you take Q level 1 though, at level 2 it's sort of a more free option. Either way, the first thing we want to do is we want to max our Q. Of course, we take our ultimate whenever available, and then we proceed to max E next. And we're gonna max Q last. Q is sort of a 1-point wonder, where they did, of course, buff it at that certain point where it has that it has the rank 3 range permanently now. So Q is definitely the one you want to max last. Now we're gonna explain what his skills and abilities do. So first up, his passive is that small shield you can see on him. That's pretty much his passive. It's sort of like a Malphite's passive, where you will have a shield that regenerates on you every once in a while to help you tank extra damage. So now, your Q, let's just set up some enemy dummies in our usual spot at the river, of course. So basically what your Q does is basically... Oops, wrong button there. We don't want to change champion. We want to ally dummy. What your Q does basically, it's a skill shot, as you guys can see. When you hit an enemy, you're going to get this heal that goes around you. It takes like 2 full seconds to pop. However, if you touch an ally with it, so for example, I hit this and I immediately walk to an ally, it pops instantly. So that's sort of like a, I guess you could say, a trick. So if you're already standing at your ally, when the thing comes back, it's going to pop instantly, for example. W is your main engage. It is a AoE kind of area where anyone in that area is going to get knocked up. So for example, here I go on these 3 enemy dummies. Boom. After a short delay, they're going to get knocked up. Of course, you can miss and hit like only 1 when you intended to hit more. And for his E, you actually have 2 charges of E. So here I'm going to show it by removing my 0 cooldown. So you actually have 2 charges of E. So this allows you to, of course, dash to one ally, dash to another ally. Or, of course, what you could do is you could, of course, dash to one ally and that same ally again. So there's a couple of uses for this. First up is if you're behind the fight, like if you're coming out of base, if you're behind the fight, you can dash to an ally to join the fight and engage from like pretty much off the enemy screen. Like imagine those dummies there, they cannot actually see me even coming. What I can actually do is I can, for example, just go here, jump here, and boom, knock up, for example, like that, and then jump back. Second obvious use of this is you're in front and you want to jump back to your ally, something like that. And the third use is, of course, just to give the ally a shield. This does give a shield to your ally, of course. So finally, it's his ultimate. So his ultimate, what it does, when you press it, you get increased movement speed like that, and whoever you hit is going to get charmed instantly, like boom, boom, boom. They all get charmed, as you guys can see. So there's a couple of like Rakan like combos that you can actually do. So the first one, which is my favorite combo, is to Alt W. So basically, if you look at your W here, when you jump, there's a like 1 second or half a second delay that the enemy team can flash out. But if you Alt first and then you W, so you Alt W, the moment you land, they're gonna get charmed and then they're guaranteed to get hit by the knockup. That's why I like to Alt before I W. But some people, what they like to do is like to W and then Alt after the W goes through. But I kind of don't really like that because it's kind of not very smooth, because you don't want to layer the CC, you want to chain the CC. So what you're going to have to do here is you're going to have to first like that, wait for the knockup to finish, and then you ult to get maximum value, not like what I did the first time, because that kind of wastes the ulti, which kind of sucks. So one of the combos you can do is, for example, I mentioned you're far behind, you can, for example, ult, dash, and then you go for the knockup like that instantly, and that's going to, of course, be very, very unexpected. This also kind of works over the wall. So another thing you can do is you can ult, then you flash, and then you engage, for example, on these people here. Something to note is that you cannot flash the moment you ult. So for example, if I press ult here, I cannot flash. There is a sort of a delay that is on purpose, because they don't allow Rakan to ult flash instantly. So there's a half-second delay, so it's not very smooth. However, what you can actually do is you can use Alt Proto Belt, which is why we go for Proto Belt as our enchant. So here I'm just going to quickly get back to the spot where I'm supposed to be. So what you can actually do is you can do this. You can Alt Proto Belt forward instantly. So the Proto Belt sort of replaces your flash, which is why I think Rakan pretty much needs Proto Belt every single time. So with that, you can start running away with Proto Belt. You can start doing Proto Belt combos, like for example, you're way too far away, you don't have your E, you can do this, and then you Proto Belt forward. Sorry, kind of messed that up there by panning my camera instead, but let's try that again. You can do this, Proto Belt forward to get the charm off, something like that. But generally, the main way you use Proto Belt is if you're really close, you can just out Proto Belt instantly, then knock up that kind of thing, and full combo, etc. That sort of deal. So anyways, with all that out the way, let's actually just jump into talking about his build. So personally, or actually let's wait until we get to the build page before we start talking about it. So here is Rakan's build. So personally, I think AP is the best way to build him, and you can build him in support. I'm not sure if I have a support build here. No, that's kind of tank. Yeah, this is the kind of like support build you go. So the support build goes for like Imperial Mandate, and then like Staff of Flowing Water and like other supportive items like, you know, Frozen Heart to reduce attack speed or Morello's for anti-heal. But the reason why I think that Rakan works way better as AP because he has very high AP ratios on all of his abilities. I'm gonna show you guys this very briefly. So if we take a look over here at where's Rakan over here? If we take a look at Rakan, his shield scales off 80% AP, so you're gonna get a larger shield for yourself. Your Q healing scales off AP as well. The Q damage scales off AP, but that's not important. Q healing scales off of AP, so you can heal your ally and yourself for more. W scales off of AP, so you can do more damage. Your E shield scales off of AP as well, 80% AP, and your ult also scales off 50% AP. So he's really good AP ratios, and even when you're building AP, this is gonna give a higher heal amount to your allies. It's gonna give a higher shield amount to your allies, and as such, I can only conclude that AP Rakan is better because you can both shield and heal your ally more, and you can also do damage and one-shot enemies. Whereas with the support build, you're sort of like in that weird spot where you can't really tank because you're sort of like an enchanter, but you also have to sort of engage and go in. So in my opinion, if you want to engage and go in already, why not just go for the one-shot instead? So first off, as a support, of course you want to start off with Relic Shield, which gives you a little bit of extra health, and of course the main point of this is to get the minion Execute, to of course control the wave, and also to get bonus gold. So the first item I like to go for is Rod of Ages. Now Rod of Ages gives you mana, health, as well as AP, and every how long is it? Every like does it say here? Every 45 seconds you get a stack which gives you extra health, mana, and AP, which eventually gives you extra 200 health, 100 mana, and 60 AP. The reason why I like this is because what this gives you is, at the end of the day, you're gonna get 450 health from this and 100 health from this. So 550 health is quite a ton. You're eventually gonna get 120 AP from this and gonna get 40 mana from this. So the AP and the health is what we're mainly after. I think that this makes Rakan somewhat tanky. I say somewhat very, very loosely because he can 550 health allows him to tank a couple extra skill shots and auto attacks, but at the end of the day, not that tanky. Now the other option you have for this is going for Luden's Echo. Luden's Echo gives you an immediate 85 AP, 300 mana, as well as 20 ability haste, as well as of course the passive where you get that extra burst damage. And in certain matchups, this is actually better, like against a full squishy comp, for example, this is actually better because you can just more easily one-shot the enemies. And then I like to go for Proto Belt next, of course, because you can use Proto Belt for the playmaking potential. You can, of course, do the ult Proto Belt kind of combos. And then after that, we go for the Death Cap for the 110 AP injection, as well as getting extra 40% AP. And then after that, we go for Infinity Orb, which of course gives you more AP, but the main point is the magic penetration, as well as critting when they're below 35% health for, again, those one-shots. And finally, most of the time you end up building Morellonomicon because you generally end up building the Oblivion Orb earlier because generally there's a lot of healing in their team. So you generally are going to end up building this item. However, if you don't need to build that item, you can go for other options, which include, of course, your Void Staff, which also include your Crystalline Reflector, as well as your Banshee's Veil if you of course need it. You can even top off with a Imperial Mandate if you really wanted to. And yeah, so that's the build. So for runes and spells. For the runes, we want to go for Electrocute, of course, for the one shot. So what your normal combo is either you do your ult WQ, which gonna proc Electrocute, or the more basic combo is you WQ auto and proc Electrocute, then jump back out. Sudden Impact because you are jumping a lot with both your W and your E, so this gives you extra penetration for the one shot. And then Bone Plating, of course, for the anti-burst, and Ability Haste, of course, to get our abilities out more often. Generally with Rakan, you go for Flash Ignite. Ignite is, of course, for that extra kill potential, because you are trying to one-shot people, so you sometimes need the Ignite to cut off their healing or to just finish them off. So with all that out the way, let's jump into talking about Rakan gameplay. Okay, so now let's take a look at the gameplay itself. Now, as you guys can see here, we are, of course, playing in Legendary Rank. Of course, we're going to get ourselves that Control Ward for the Bush Control, and starting off with the Relic Shield, as mentioned. And in this particular game, we're with Jinx. So Jinx is not the strongest, like, early/laning champion, so we are generally not gonna be able to do too much, especially since we're against Tristana Leona, who is very, very strong in lane, like especially level 2, level 3, and level 5, like they're gonna be really strong, so we don't really want to mess with them. However, here you see that Leona is alone, so here I go in with the engage and I proc my electrocute. Leona here takes E, which is probably the worst of the 3 spells to take in this situation, because Q, she could have stunned me, W, she could have blocked damage, and Q is the general best first spell on Leona, and she took E and launched it the opposite direction, so not quite sure what the plan was there, but either way we get a free chunk on Leona. I also got the electrocute proc, so anyways, all is fine. So obviously there, I started off with W because I saw opportunity to go in. And another kind of plus of Rakan in this match is I mainly picked Rakan in this match because I saw Yasuo, and I felt that it was really good to give Yasuo a free like knock-up. Like technically Nautilus can do that as well, and Kayn can also do that. Here I again get the 2-man knock-up to try to save the Jinx. I'm dashing back to her to give her the shield. And here I ignite the Tristana. I'm trying to give her the shield again. I do give her the shield, but unfortunately they end up trading 1 for 1. My Jinx does get the first blood though, so we do get the extra first blood goal, and now we're left with both supports in the lane. And yeah, not too much can happen here. Leona can't kill me, I can't kill her. Just gonna hit the Q, get myself a little bit of healing. Leona tries to go in, but I sidestep her, and here she activates the W. I go in on her. She's in all the minions, so she's gonna take more damage than me, which is why I went in. And now she's trying to recall. Of course, Tristana just jumps in with the bomb. I am pretty low, so I'm gonna have to back off a little bit, pick up the fruit so that I don't just die to the Tristana. And here I'm desperately trying to proc my relic shield, but the Jinx is not letting me, which is kind of sad. But yeah, anyways, here I finally get the relic shield proc. I was trying to proc it on the cannon, but Jinx wouldn't allow it. A little bit unfortunate there. And yeah, not much happening here. Here we clear the wave, so here I'm going to take this opportunity to back. Here you can see the Rakan passive coming up. And going back to base, we're gonna get the Catalyst of Aeons, and we're gonna of course start building towards the Roa. Trying to get Rod of Ages as early as possible is of course optimal, because the Rod of Ages of course does take quite some time to fully stack. I think 8 minutes or so to stack. And anyways, here we're gonna hit back over to the lane. Jinx is doing just fine by herself, trying to get the proc on the cannon. This time we do get it. And here we are all level 5, including the enemies. Actually Tristana is not, but she's about to hit level 5. And here is where there is some kind of danger, because they can easily have an all-in on us with, of course, Leona CC and Tristana putting her bomb on one of us, and we can easily die, so we want to play cautiously. Jinx doesn't really do the most damage in the early stages of the game, and Tristana does, so we want to be a little bit cautious about this situation. Although in this case, in terms of KDA, they are about even. In terms of items, they are also about even. In terms of goal as well. So I would say that overall we're doing pretty fine, considering we're the weaker lane by far. Another proc of the Relic Shield. Again, I don't want to just randomly engage, don't want to randomly go in. I just want to basically just hang around and proc Relic Shield. Here, because there's opportunity, Jinx is backing. I don't want to mess with the wave. I'm seeing if I can get a roam off to mid. However, the two of them end up following me indirectly because they're going for the Skull Crab. And I can see here they're doing the Skull Crab. So because of that, they're in the area. I can't engage mid, because if I do, they can easily rotate and make it a 3v2, which is not what we want. Me and Yasuo will become in trouble. Excuse me. So here what we're going to do instead, we're going to hit back to lane. Jinx is back in lane. We're just going to carry on proccing Relic Shield and carry on just letting Jinx farm and having a uneventful lane if possible. Here, engage goes in by Leona. Here I'm engaging on Tristana to prevent her from following up. You guys can see here that Jinx is just fine because she only got engaged on by Leona. However, she's no longer fine because Olaf is here with the slow. Exhaust goes down. Irelia comes in as well. Here, I go in because I'm thinking Irelia is tanking, Leona, sorry, is tanking tower. I was trying to get the kill on her. I end up eventually getting the kill on her, but taking way longer than what I thought, and I end up dying because of that. I thought it would be pretty easy to just kill her instantly, but apparently she's way more tanky than I expected. I think Jinx was dead whatever I did there anyways. We're getting 4-man dived. However, I did think that if she exhausted Irelia instead of panic exhausting Leona, the situation would have been much better. But you know, in hindsight, we probably would have died either way, so not too big of a difference overall. Here I have 2 relic shield stacks, so I'm pinging Jinx to actually come here because I want to proc it so we can start having lane priority. So here I'm waiting for Jinx to come in range for me to proc my relic shield, and there we go. I can now proc my relic shield on both minions, and then we can rotate to the dragon because Kayn isn't even ready anyways. Kayn is like on the other side of the map, so there's no real point of like rushing to the dragon for no reason. Here Yasuo goes in. I come in with the combo to try to help him knock up. He ends up not actually ulting, and now he's doing it by himself instead. In the meanwhile, Kayn is using the Herald to try to get mid lane tower in, and here we're trying to follow up on the fight. I go in with the ulti, Kayn comes in from the back, and we end up just cleaning up the fight, as you guys can see here. So overall, kind of a successful chain of events here, aside from the fact that, of course, we didn't actually need to contest the dragon there because we didn't have a jungler. But in the end, it's pretty much all fine. So here we can get a couple of tower plates, and then we can just simply back off. You can see Olaf is coming, gets the slow onto Jinx. I'm dashing to the Jinx to give her a shield and also to get myself out of harm's way. Grand entrance under the tower, and gonna just recall and get myself some items. So here, Roa has been completed previously by me already. I'm now going for, of course, my Proto Belt. So I have the Ionian Boots of Lucidity. Of course, ability haste being very important on Rakan. Realized I kind of forgot to mention what boots we go for exactly, but yeah, we do go for Ionian Boots of Lucidity. So here I'm just hanging around to see if I can knock up for Yasuo, and eventually what I end up doing instead is just proccing my Relic Shield on Yasuo's minions. No big deal here. And now Jinx obviously needs some help. So here me and Yasuo are coming down because they obviously are going to go in. Coming in with the ulti, with the knockup. Yasuo comes in with the ult as well for the follow-up, although we technically didn't even need him. But yeah, so we do end up getting all those kills. So here, because Olaf is top at the blue buff and Teemo is top as well, this is pretty much an opportunity to get this bot lane tower. So here I'm just knocking up the minions to, of course, get the damage on. And now here me and Jinx can easily just finish off this tower. And then I can just back and, you know, pick up my Proto Belt most likely. Yeah, there we go, Proto Belt completed, and now we're going to start building for Death Cap. So in the meanwhile, there's a huge skirmish going on in the top lane. They're trying to conduct the dive onto the Olaf, and it is pretty successful. Kayn goes on a rampage, and based upon his itemization, it's obvious he's going for Rit form. No one is here to take the mid wave, so I'm just, you know, attacking the mid wave. Not Tristana. Jinx is now here, but we realize that we're gonna have to head over down to bot lane to try to stop them from picking up the tower, or maybe punishing them for taking the tower. So Jinx goes the very, very safe way, which is not very ideal. So here I come in with the engage. Unfortunately, I don't hit the Tristana at the start because she flashed out. I flash after her, and we don't really win an extended fight because of Tristana's bomb. Tristana ends up getting the kill. Here I'm desperately trying to trade the kill. Proto Belt forward, hit the Q. Unfortunately though, she lives on 1 HP, which is pretty unfortunate. And yeah, so kind of very scuffed there. I think Jinx should have gone by the less safe way, like running straight at them, because it's obvious that they're caught out of position and we can easily engage on them. You don't want to like necessarily always go that the quote-unquote safe way, because not in this scenario, that is pretty much what caused us to lose, because she wasn't there to DPS when I went in. But anyways, here what we're gonna do is we respawn. Obviously the enemy team are trying to siege mid, so we're gonna come over here and try to help defend. We almost have our ult available, so here I'm hanging back to see if I can surprise anyone, but the whole enemy team end up backing off before anything really even happens. Alright, so here I control warp the Herald, and we're gonna just start off the Herald. Enemy team is indeed in the area. I'm trying to wait for an opportunity to knock out multiple people for the Yasuo. I spot the people, enemy team grouping up right here. And here you can see I'm going in with a 3-man knockup. Yasuo gets the 3-man ulti, and because of that we instant win the fight. That's what I was talking about when I was saying that Rakan can win fights for your team. 3-man knockup into the 3-man Yasuo ult. Instantly just won that fight basically. Now Leona is the last man standing, and she is tanky, but we have multiple people to dive the tower, so if we do this correctly, we should be able to get the tower without having any casualties, as you guys can see here. And we also have the Herald to push down. Herald actually picks up the tower, and going for a second charge is good enough because the whole enemy team has respawned, so going for this tower is too greedy. Apparently everybody understood that aside from the Yasuo, who ends up obviously getting caught out by the literal entirety of the enemy team, and obviously he just dies. So kind of a really stupid decision by Yasuo there to just stick around. Here are dragons coming up, so I'm going to quickly clear out this wave to get mid lane priority. And yeah, we are lacking a Yasuo who's a major damage source, considering that Jinx has not really scaled up yet. Nautilus is tank, and Kayn is also red form. So here we're of course starting up the dragon. Nautilus goes in, and here I try to go in with the ulti, but I end up engaging onto the Leona by accident, so kind of not the real target that we're looking for. I end up of course dying, but I think it's good enough with the engage my team manages to kind of win the fight. And then we're also gonna get the Teemo on the back end, so we got the dragon as well as 4 kills. So overall it's fine, so we end up doing pretty well. My team as a whole is just doing pretty well in general. Yasuo with a little bit with troll with that in play, but overall in terms of KDA, everyone is doing just fine. Nautilus of course has a little bit more depth because he is of course the main tank of the team. Very understandable. And yeah, we're all just doing fine. So I'm almost to death cap at this point. Both item components in the inventory already. So here we spot the enemy team over committing onto the Nautilus, which is probably the least valuable target on our team, and they do get it. But we are all on the rotation. The fight is still ongoing. I'm trying to see if I can get a flank to the back. As you guys can see here, I'm going full combo onto the Tristana. We are able to help the Kayn finish her off, and now Leona is on us, but Leona can't really do all that much. Here I get the knockup onto Teemo. I am gonna die eventually to Teemo poison, but as I mentioned, if you are a Rakan, dying doesn't actually matter all that much. Like, of course it's better if you live, but if you manage to use all your spells, combo and engage for your team, you know, DPS, not DPS, but use all your spells on enemy team to burst them all out, and you have nothing left, dying is really not all that bad. Like, because you've already contributed by, you know, using your one shot. I've already contributed by using my one shot on Tristana. I've already contributed by, you know, using my knockup on Teemo and Leona, etc. So my value has already been provided. Dying is not too big of an issue. This is way better than if, for example, I didn't want to die and I would refuse to engage on Teemo and Leona and instead just ran away. That's way worse. So dying for my team to get those 2 kills is definitely good. And off of that, I'm able to pick up my death cap, so even more one-shot potential now. And here I'm trying to look and see if there's any fight to be had. Here I'm going for the one shot onto the Tristana, and Yasuo follows up with the ulti. The stasis comes in, but she's still gonna die eventually. Here I'm just dancing around the fight, shielding people and you know, providing the knockups, etc. Here Teemo goes down, and Leona is the last person standing again. She's kind of tanky, but in the end doesn't really matter. Jinx picks up a triple kill, and pretty much off of that, the game is just over. Clean ace from my team with more than enough time for us to get the end. And yeah, as you guys can see here, we're easily going to end the game. So overall, we end up with a scoreline of 3-4-21. Not really the best KDA scoreline, but in terms of actual fights, we did very well to provide knockups for Yasuo. We did very well to engage and burst down people as well. So that's basically what you really want to do as Rakan. So you guys can take a look at the stats as usual. We see that of course, our whole team did well. Our whole team all got A and S. And personally, I believe I got better than like 98.3% of Rakan. So we did pretty well. Leave you guys with the rest of the stats as usual. Thank you guys so much for watching the video, and goodbye.